You don't even open your eyes before the weight hits. It's not the day. It's the pressure you've placed on yourself just to keep the peace. Your mind starts scanning before your feet touch the floor. Did she sleep well? Did you say something wrong last night? Should you text first? Should you shrink a little, just in case? That's not love. That's fear dressed in habit. You've contorted your schedule, dulled your tone, trimmed your presence. Not because you're in harmony, but because you're managing landmines. You're not rising like a man. You're bracing like a hostage. And you call that care? Number. That's not care. That's collapse. Dostoevsky saw this in men who mistake suffering for worth, who twist devotion into chains. You've done it too. You confuse obedience with affection. You smother yourself quietly, believing guilt is your payment. And in that quiet obedience, your voice dissolves. Imagine spending weeks shrinking your schedule to soothe her moods, then waking one night with emptiness in your spine. The air tastes stale because so much of you is missing. You whisper, "I'm doing this for us." But the truth stings. You did it for her validation. Left your markers on the floor, surrendered your routines. And what did you gain? Approval? Maybe. But praise built on erasure is debt. Dostoevsky's men paid for love in suffering. They believed that self-abandonment showed worth. And you've repeated the same mistake. You believe kindness equals surrender, that emotions are demands, that silence within you is selfish, so you yield again, until there's no you left to hold. Do you feel that? That phantom pressure in your chest? That when she hints at disconnection, your backbone folds? That when guilt slides into your mind, your strength dissolves? It's not instinct. It's programming. It's the belief that a man's job is to be small. But that belief kills. Not in a day, but in every drained evening you collapse earlier than you planned. In every mission abandoned because she needed you. In every choice you didn't defend because confrontation felt wrong. That's masochism. And it's not love. It's permission to diminish yourself until even your own reflection feels like an intruder. You're kneeling, but there is no safety in kneeling to guilt, because she will never need less from you. The moment you shrink, her demands grow until your approval isn't enough. The moment your voice pauses, the echo demanding more reverberates until your words are silent. And you stay kneeling because you believe connection depends on sacrifice. Stop. You wake. You feel your own weight. You take back your mornings. You build your energy before she sends her first message. You claim your time before words are typed in your inbox. You hold your project sacred, harder than her mood. Not to punish, to protect. You begin speaking more than reacting. You say what feels true even when it costs peace. You answer sexually to rejection, not emotionally. You remove secrecy from your schedule. You no longer hide your phone in your pocket. You let her see, but your eyes remain anchored to your purpose. This is not cruelty, it's clarity. Dostoevsky didn't glamorize suffering. He warned against souls sold for approval. Your first battle is here. You either rise or you kneel again tomorrow. Stand once, choose your voice, then stand again. The echo becomes your backbone. You think she loves you, but what you feel is ownership. A slow, tightening leash disguised as care. You bend because the pressure feels tender, not brutal. She hasn't shouted commands. She whispered implications. A tone tinted with disappointment. A sigh after your ambition. A pull-out conversation that hangs like a noose. You fold to avoid seeing her pain, while your core fractures a little more. Dostoevsky understood this. Men sacrificing their souls to preserve affection. You nod when she says she just needs more time, so you erase your plans. You redirect your finances so she can feel secure. You stay later or skip weekends to avoid tears, and you believe this is love. But at every erasure, your identity rewinds itself. This is the tyranny of guilt, gentler than chains, deeper than dread. It kills in weeks, it drains in months, it breaks in years. You don't realize until you wake up hollow. You're contributing, but there's no glory left. You're present, but your presence is quieted. You're loved, but not enough to preserve you. Who are you when she's not looking? That question terrifies you because your bones whisper, you don't exist without her approval. So you panic. You chase her approval. You codepend on her emotional response. You treat your approval of yourself as secondary, and you've been doing it so long that your system believes kneeling is normal. Stop believing. Stop living it. You don't need permission to feel big. You don't need her consent to exist fully. You exist first. She joins second. You matter before her validation. That's not selfish. It's sovereign. There's a menacing strength in reclaiming your identity. Not raged, not yelling, not punishing, but calm, deliberate, consistent. You build your day around your values, your ambitions, your rituals, so that when she erodes your structure, you still stand because it was built by you, not borrowed from her need. You practice these decisions quietly. You say no to late-night drift because your time is sacred. You say no to her emotional demands when they cost your peace. You say no to guilt masquerading as love. Over time, your system recalibrates. You breathe easier. You stand straighter. You speak more slowly, but more firmly. She will resist. Tearful accusations, chill, emotional withdrawal, or the most toxic sign, the pity smile that means, I forced him into collapse, and now he wants pride. Dostoevsky's men knew the world would fight them for their spirit, but they rose anyway. Rebellion didn't start with noise. It started with returning home to themselves, and only then could they live beyond her expectations. This isn't about punishing her. It's about protecting yourself. It's about building a system that survives emotional storms. Emotional storms aren't the end. They become the test of your emerging independence. You either break or become more of who you were meant to be. You choose. Remain a ghost in your own life or wake up to your own desire to exist fully. Here's your path. Reclaim your mornings. Reclaim your energy. Reclaim your voice. Reclaim your vision. Even if tears pierce the day, stand inside the storm. She'll learn that you're not the hill to conquer. You're the mountain she has to stand beside. When guilt roars, listen. It's not love. It's a reminder you're moving. She's used to your collapse. That collapse is comfortable for both of you. Discomfort doesn't feel safe, but it's the path to presence. And in that presence lies something more than approval. Legacy, integrity, self-respect. Let the guilt come. Let the tears rise. Let the silence fall. Stay present. Stay grounded. Remember who you are. Not as her knight, but as your own king. You've mistaken your silence for strength. You tell yourself you're being the bigger man. You absorb her mood swings. You endure her guilt trips. You tolerate her criticisms. And you think that's what a loving man does. But real strength isn't passive. It isn't tolerant. Real strength is the refusal to be emotionally blackmailed. You've been conditioned to believe that if she's upset, it's your fault. If she cries, you must fix it. If she withdraws, you failed. You walk on eggshells not because you're fragile, but because you've handed her control of your nervous system. One sigh and your stomach drops. One look and your day is wrecked. That's not love. That's enslavement. And what's worse, you built the cage yourself. Every time you apologize for speaking truth, you shrink. Every time you sacrifice your mission to keep her calm, You betray something primal, something sacred, something you forgot was yours, your edge. You don't need to explain yourself when your priorities don't align with her mood. You don't need to negotiate your freedom just because she's uncomfortable with your clarity. You don't need to bend just because bending is easier than holding the line. Dostoevsky wrote about the man who keeps giving until he disappears, who mistakes martyrdom for meaning. You've walked too close to that grave. But here's the truth. You don't owe her your soul. You owe her your presence, your honesty, your fire, but never your collapse. When you refuse to be moved by emotional theatrics, when you stay grounded while the guilt storms, you send a signal. I don't exist to be managed. I exist to lead. And if she can't follow, that's her storm to sit in. Let her sit. Let her stew in silence. Let her see a man who doesn't flinch, doesn't beg, doesn't vanish when tested. You're not cruel. You're clear. You're not harsh. You're whole. You're not distant. You're decided. And in that stillness, you stop being prey to her moods and become a presence that demands alignment, not accommodation. That's when she'll either rise to meet you or reveal she never planned to. Either way, you win. Because the moment you stop offering your peace as tribute is the moment you become the man she can't manipulate, and maybe, just maybe, the one she finally respects. You told yourself you loved her, but what if it wasn't love? What if it was fear dressed in loyalty? What if it was just terror of silence, of being with yourself without someone to affirm that you matter? That's what you're really afraid of, isn't it? Not her leaving, but being left alone with the version of you that doesn't feel like enough. That's not love. That's dependency. That's emotional addiction. That's masochism. You didn't fall for her beauty or her spirit. You fell for the way she made you forget your emptiness, the way she distracted you from your lack of direction, the way she let you collapse and still feel worthy, as long as you stayed useful. You've mistaken usefulness for love your whole life. Dostoevsky knew this sickness. He saw how men would rather be whipped by affection than walk alone into uncertainty. How they'd rather suffer predictable pain than risk the cold edge of real freedom. You've stayed because she gives you just enough. One compliment, one soft apology, one night where she touches you like she means it, and it pulls you back. You forgive, you obey, you endure, but you never lead, because deep down, you're scared she'll leave. And if she leaves, the mirror gets real. And the man you see, he's not someone you've learned to stand with. You've spent so long orbiting her emotions that you've forgotten how to anchor yourself in your own. When was the last time you made a decision without factoring in how she'd feel? When was the last time you chose a goal that didn't revolve around her comfort? When was the last time you made space for your pain, your silence, your edge, without immediately translating it into soft words and apologies? You're not weak. You've just never been alone long enough to build yourself. But you must, because true masculine power is forged in solitude. Not isolation, but presence. Real presence, where no one is there to clap for you, where no one is there to guilt you, where no one is there to test your worth, just you. And the uncomfortable truth that if you want to be a man who commands respect, you have to be a man who no longer begs for closeness. Let her walk. Let the silence scream. Let the discomfort stretch you. Because in that crucible, something awakens, something unshakable, something no woman, no culture, no guilt trip can ever take again. It's not that you stop needing connection. It's that you stop needing it to survive. And when you reach that place, you don't just rebuild. You become untouchable. You've been sold a weak version of love your whole life. The kind that teaches you to serve in silence, to fold without being asked, to anticipate her moods like they're your weather forecast. To believe that being a good man means disappearing a little more each day, until she's happy and you're a ghost. But that's not love. That's slavery. You don't earn her loyalty by being small. You don't build trust by dissolving your identity. You don't deepen connection by walking on eggshells. You want to know what real love looks like? It's when you stay rooted in who you are, even when she cries. It's when you don't flinch at her tests, don't grovel at her silence, don't apologize for your ambition just because it doesn't orbit her desires. It's when she knows you'll choose what's right, not what's easy. Dostoevsky didn't write about men who softened for love. He wrote about men who stood at the edge of madness and still held their line. He wrote about suffering, yes, but suffering that revealed something deeper, something truer. Not the kind of suffering you swallow in hopes she'll love you more tomorrow. The moment you stop living for her comfort is the moment she'll finally see a man she can respect, or fear, or both. And that's okay, because real love isn't found in submission. It's forged in polarity. You as the mountain, her as the storm. She can rage, she can reign, but you don't move. That's what creates desire. That's what builds trust. That's what invites surrender. Not your collapse, but your certainty. Most men reverse that. They lead with softness. They end with resentment. And when it all falls apart, they say, "But I did everything for her." Exactly. You did everything, except hold the line. So here's your chance to reset. You rebuild not just yourself, but the terms. She can love you, but she cannot own you. She can cry, but that doesn't mean you bow. She can leave, and you won't chase. Not out of coldness, but clarity. You're done offering love as apology. From now on, your presence is the gift. Your discipline is the protection. Your truth is the anchor. And if she can't meet that, she was never in love with you. She was in love with your obedience. So end that story now, and write the one where love doesn't demand your pain. It mirrors your power. This is where it ends. You're not built to apologize for your presence. You're not built to trade your instincts for approval. You're not built to orbit her moods, her doubts, her tears like a dog waiting for permission to exist. You were built for more, for weight, for clarity, for command. That doesn't mean domination. That doesn't mean cruelty. That means you wake up every day and you lead, not just her, but yourself. You breathe through the discomfort of her silence without chasing it. You stay grounded when she throws out the bait of emotional chaos. You refuse to be emotionally penetrated by every flicker of disappointment in her eyes. And when she pulls away to test you, you don't collapse. You hold the line. That's the man she didn't know she needed. That's the man the world doesn't want you to become. Because a man who refuses to be guilted is a man who can't be bought. A man who can't be seduced into weakness. A man who doesn't owe anyone an explanation for being unshakable. And when you become that man, everything changes. Not just your relationships. Your work sharpens. Your discipline returns. Your nervous system reclaims its ground. You stop looking for validation in text threads. You stop scanning every word for clues. You stop editing your truth just to avoid her withdrawal. Because your truth isn't a negotiation. It's a standard. Let her scream. Let her cry. Let her threaten to leave. Let her walk. Because the man who walks with himself will never be abandoned again. Dostoevsky knew this madness, the pain of waking up to your own disappearance. But he also wrote of resurrection, of return, of the soul that rises, even from the ash of its own weakness. And now you rise. No fanfare, no applause, just the steady rhythm of a man who remembers he doesn't kneel for love anymore. You kneel only for God, for your mission, for your code, but never again for guilt, never again for her mood, Never again for fear of being alone. You're done. You're building something now. Not just muscle, not just money, but identity, integrity, presence. You've stepped into the man you were born to become. And that man, he never trades power for peace. He creates peace by embodying power. That's you now. If you are tired of softening to survive, tired of confusing pain for love, do something about it. If this lit something up inside you, if you're building your own code, your own rhythm, then hit that like button and subscribe. This is your line in the sand. This is your return to command. And the next time you feel that guilt creeping in, smile. It means you're finally walking the right way.